Hashtag voiceover text parts for HTTS. Hashtag split into 1500-2000 chart chunks. Hashtag part 1, hook plus chapter 1 intro. Back in January 2025, a Hollywood actor sat down on the biggest podcast in the world and dropped a bombshell. He said a cheap deworming drug, about $2 a pill, had cured 3 of his friends of stage 4 cancer. Within months, prescriptions for that drug among cancer patients more than doubled. The National Cancer Institute started studying whether it could kill cancer cells. And a whole political movement formed around the idea that the medical establishment was hiding a miracle cure. The drug is ivermectin. And whether you think it's a breakthrough or a dangerous distraction, you need to know what's really going on. Ivermectin isn't some shady experimental drug. It literally won a Nobel Prize. In 2015, William Campbell and Satoshi Omura shared the Nobel Prize for discovering and developing it. The drug has been used for decades to treat parasitic infections like river blindness and threadworm. It saved millions of lives across the developing world. The FDA has approved it for humans for specific parasitic diseases. It's also used as a dewormer for horses, cattle, and dogs. It's on the WHO's list of essential medicines. But here's the thing that matters: being approved for one thing doesn't mean it's proven for something else. The FDA has not approved ivermectin for cancer. No clinical guidelines recommend it. And that's where the whole controversy starts. Hashtag Part 2, Chapter 2 Preclinical Science. Okay, so here's the part the advocates point to, and honestly, it's not nothing. Over the last 10 years or so, dozens of lab studies have found that ivermectin has anti-cancer properties. In petri dishes and in animals, it's been shown to do 3 things. 1. Stop cancer cells from multiplying. 2. Trigger programmed cell death, that's apoptosis. And 3. Mess with key signaling pathways like Wnt-beta-catenin and actin-2, pathways that cancers hijack to grow. A 2020 review in Drug Design, Development and Therapy said ivermectin exerts anti-tumor effects through multiple mechanisms. A 2025 review in Current Oncology reports back that up across different cancer types. But, and this is a big but, there's a massive gap between what happens in a lab and what actually works in a human body. Dr. Mary Jennifer Markham from the American Cancer Society put it perfectly: there's a big gap between what happens under a microscope and what happens in a human being. Lots of things work in a petri dish. Almost none of them work in people. Hashtag Part 3, Chapter 3 Mel Gibson Effect. On January 9, 2025, Mel Gibson sat down with Joe Rogan for episode 2254. That episode has been watched more than 16 million times. During the conversation, Gibson claimed that a combo of ivermectin and fenbendazole, another animal dewormer, had cured 3 of his friends of stage 4 cancer. The effect was immediate. A study in JAMA Network Open from May 2026 found that prescriptions for ivermectin plus benzimidazole doubled in the 6 months after that episode, compared to the same period in 2024. Among cancer patients specifically, prescriptions jumped 2.6 times. The biggest increases were among white patients, men, and people living in the U.S. South, which lines up with the podcast's audience. The study authors wrote, "Such influence gains traction when institutional trust erodes." But here's what the study couldn't tell us: did any of those patients actually get better? And more importantly, did any of them delay or give up on proven treatments? Hashtag Part 4, Chapter 4 NCI Study. In February 2026, something pretty unprecedented happened. The National Cancer Institute, the biggest cancer research agency in the world, said it was studying ivermectin. Dr. Anthony Letai, the NCI director appointed by the Trump administration, said at a public event, "There are enough reports of it, enough interest in it, that we actually did engage in a better preclinical study of its properties and its ability to kill cancer cells." This was a big deal. The NCI had stayed quiet on ivermectin before. Now the head of a $6 billion agency was publicly saying they're looking into it. But here's the catch: it's a preclinical study. That means lab research, not human trials. Results won't be out for months. And even if the lab data looks good, it still has to go through phase 1, 2, and 3 clinical trials before it could be approved for cancer patients. That usually takes 5 to 10 years. There is one active clinical trial, NCT 05318469, testing ivermectin with immunotherapy for metastatic triple-negative breast cancer. It's small, 34 patients, phase 1/2, still recruiting. Early data from that trial showed no significant benefit from adding ivermectin. But the trial is still going. Hashtag Part 5, Chapter 5 Risks plus Chapter 6 Bottom line. This is the part the viral posts usually leave out. Ivermectin is generally safe at the doses approved for parasites, usually a single dose of 12 to 24 milligrams, taken once or twice a year. But the doses being pushed for cancer are way higher and way more frequent. The regimen floating around online, 12 milligrams every day for 5 days, then 12 milligrams twice a week as maintenance. At those higher doses, the risks are real. Nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. Interactions with chemo drugs that could make them less effective. And in extreme cases, seizures, coma, even death. A June 2026 letter in a medical journal described a teenage cancer patient who took ivermectin after seeing social media posts, got neurotoxicity, and ended up in the ER. The American Cancer Society also warns that taking ivermectin for cancer could disqualify you from clinical trials, which might limit your treatment options down the road. So where does all this leave us? There are 4 things happening at once here. First, real preclinical science. Ivermectin does show anti-cancer properties in the lab. That's published, peer-reviewed research. It deserves to be studied. Second, a political movement, MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, has turned ivermectin into a symbol of fighting the medical establishment. That's pushed the drug way further into the spotlight than the science alone would have. Third, desperate patients looking for hope. When you're facing stage 4 and conventional medicine has run out of options, a $2 pill that might help is incredibly tempting. And fourth, real, serious risks. Taking high doses of an unproven drug without a doctor's supervision can hurt you. The NCI is studying it. Clinical trials are happening. We might have real answers in a few years. But right now, the honest truth is, we don't know if ivermectin works for cancer. If you or someone you care about is thinking about ivermectin for cancer, talk to your oncologist. Don't walk away from proven treatments. And don't believe everything you see on social media. That's the full story. Now you decide.